Dear students, I hope all of you are having a great day today, and I welcome you all on this little orientation session regarding the paper called Audit and Assurance. First of all, I'm extremely excited and extremely motivated just to make sure that all of us are going to get through this session on a very high note, and we are going to make sure that we are not going to make mistakes and we are not going to commit those mistakes which leads to failure. We are going to ensure that we are fully committed throughout this session, and we want to make sure that we are going to make the best use of the time, best use of this resource, and we are going to interact through all possible platforms. Okay, let's start the course content. Let's explore what we have got in Audit and Assurance. So let's discuss the course content of Audit and Assurance, and we have got 7 areas in total. The first area is ethics and acceptance. The second area is corporate governance. The third area is internal audit. Now, these 3 areas are the minor areas of the syllabus. Then comes audit risk, the internal control systems, and the substantive procedures. These 3 areas are the major areas of the syllabus. Last but not the least, we have got another minor area which is called review and reporting. So overall, we have got 4 minor areas and we have got 3 major areas. Now, what do I mean by minor areas and major areas? Why I'm classifying this audit risk, control systems, and substantive procedure as a major area? Why I'm saying that? Let me explain that. The exam format is we have got 2 sections, Section A and Section B. Unlike the PM exam, unlike the tax exam, unlike the FR exam or FM exam, all those skill level exams from PM to FM, they've got 3 sections in the exam. But for the AA paper, we have got only 2 sections, Section A, Section B. By the way, having 2 sections rather than 3 makes this paper a lot more difficult. I will explain that. Okay, we have got 2 sections, Section A and Section B. In the Section A, you will be tested via OTQs. So there will be 3 OTQs, and each and every OTQ will have 5 questions in it. So overall, you have to solve 15 questions. Each and every little question will be of 2 marks. So that makes 5 2s are 10 for one OTQ. Similarly, 5 2s are 10 for the second OTQ, and 5 2s are 10 for the third and the last OTQ. So that makes 30 marks in the Section A. Okay, what about Section B? In the Section B, you have to attempt 3 long questions. Once you have solved those little 15 questions, you have to solve 3 long questions, question 16, question 17, and question 18. The question 16 will be of 30 marks, question 70 will be of 20 marks, and question 18 will be of 20 marks. These 3 long questions will definitely have sub-requirements and sub-parts in it. Maybe the question number 16 of 30 mark will have 4 to 5 parts. Maybe question number 17 might have 2 requirements. Maybe question number 18 might have 3 requirements. So it's up to the discretion of the examiner how many sub-parts the examiner wants to test. Okay. Earlier, I suggested you that we have got 3 major areas in the syllabus, and those 3 major areas are risk, controls, and substantive procedure. Why they are classified as major areas? Because according to the examiner, in the Section B, which is for 70 marks, the examiner is going to test 3 long questions on risk, controls, and procedures. Yes, there is a possibility that any minor area such as ethics, any minor area such as corporate governance, internal audit, or review and reporting could be tested as a sub-part. Let's say out of 20 marks, 4 marks could be allocated to, let's say, corporate governance. Let's say out of for the question number 18, out of 20 marks, 5 marks could be allocated to the review and reporting. Out of 6 for the question number 16, for 30 marks, there is a possibility 8 marks could be allocated to ethics. But out of the overall 70 marks, at least 50 marks or more, at least 50 marks will be allocated or will be tested from those 3 major areas, which are risk, controls, and procedures. So I think this exam format has revealed few things. First of all, this exam format has revealed that we need to prepare the OTQs. If we end up scoring 10 or 12 marks out of 30 marks, the chances of passing this particular paper, they become very, very low. We need to make sure that we are getting at least 20, or ideally speaking, more than 24 marks out of 30 marks. This exam format has revealed another thing, that is the section B will be based upon the three major areas: risk, controls and procedures. No doubt we will be investing the greatest amount of energy to the risk, controls and procedures. But having said that, there is no doubt about it that those minor areas will be tested in the section B as well. So we need to prepare ethics, corporate governance, internal audit and review and reporting, not only for the section A, but also for the section B. So we need to cover everything. So this exam format is a challenging one. Mind you, this is a challenging exam format. You don't have the luxury of 60 marks for MCQs and OTQs. You have got to attempt 70 marks paper on your blank workspace. You need to type for these 70 marks. This 70 marks required extraordinary typing speed. All this 70 marks required your writing skills, your typing skills. Now, the last part of this orientation session. Why we have got such a high failure rate in AA exam? Why audit and assurance exam has got such a high failure rate? The tax paper, the FR paper, the FM paper, these three papers, more or less, they end up having 50% global results. But as far as this AA paper is concerned, the results are usually somewhere in between 38 and 42%. So if I have to come up with one number, and if I have to explain, and if I have to reveal one average number for the last 3 years or so, I would say not more than 40%. On the contrary, on the other hand, the tax, the FM, the FR, their average will be almost nearly 50. So this is a huge difference of almost 10%. Why is that? The first reason is poor typing speed all around the globe, especially those countries where English is not the first language. In those countries, the typing speed becomes a major concern and a major issue. Why students fail AA exam? Because students generally do not attempt mock exams. Students do not attempt questions under the exam condition. They don't practice enough. Normally, a student is going to read the question, and then the student is going to read the solution. And the student is going to come up with a feeling, yes, I know this question is done and dusted. I'm good at it. But that's not how you are going to pass this particular paper. So you need to make sure you are working on your typing speed. You need to make sure that you are solving the questions with exam pressure throughout the session. The third reason why students generally fail this particular paper is students normally do not score good enough marks when it comes to section A. If you want to pass this particular paper, you got to score at least 24 marks out of 30 marks. Minimum criteria should be 20 marks out of 30 marks. But ideally speaking, 24 or more should be your target. Just imagine you score 24 marks out of 30. You need another 26 marks to pass the paper, and you have got 70 marks paper at your disposal in the section B. So if you are going to score 10 marks in the, let's say, section A, now you got to score 40 out of 70. So you need to realize that if you are going to score good enough marks in section A, that automatically helps you in passing this particular paper. Why students fail? The fourth reason is, in the section B, out of 70 marks, approximately 10 to 15 marks paper is called knowledge-based paper. What do I mean by knowledge-based paper? Knowledge-based paper will be straight from the book. You got to define, you got to explain straight out of the book. You don't need to come up with your own explanation. For this knowledge-based, you don't have to create your own science. You don't have to reproduce things. You have to memorize few things and you got to reproduce them. For example, examiner could ask you for 5 marks, define the 5 fundamental principles of ACCA's Code of Ethics and Conduct. What is expected of you? What do you need to do? I think you need to come up with the definition of integrity, confidentiality, objectivity straight out of the book. no need of creative writing. So those 10 to 15 marks, only well-prepared students are going to get it. Average or even above average students are going to get nothing out of this 10 to 15 marks. Why I'm saying that? Because even above average student is not going to prepare this knowledge base. As a result, they will end up attempting 80, 85 marks paper, and there is a possibility they end up at 47, 48, 49. So just imagine they have a student attempting 85 mark paper and scoring 48 marks. Are you going to appreciate it? Should we need to have a sympathy with that student? I really don't think so. I think we need to make sure that if that student is scoring 48 out of 85, the student has to realize that if that student would have attempted 100 mark paper, automatically that student would have scored a walk in the park. What about this fifth reason? The fifth reason is my problem. I will solve this problem. And the problem is, remember I told you there are three major areas: risk, controls, and the substantive procedures. These three major areas require exam technique, and that exam technique is not available in your study text. That exam technique is not even fully explained in your exam kit. That exam technique can be understood with the help of a tutor. And I am here and I'm fully motivated and aggressive that I will teach you the exam technique of all these three major areas. So you don't have to worry about the fifth reason. The second last reason, as I told you earlier, there will be some minor areas in the syllabus such as ethics, corporate governance, internal audit, review and reporting. There are four minor areas. 90% of the failure students, they never prepare these minor areas. If you are going to audit the failure students, you will realize that the failure students did not prepare minor areas. They were too much focused on risk controls and substantive procedures. That is the major area. So they were focused on major areas. As a result, they left out the minor areas. But the question is whether the minor areas are tested by the examiner. Absolutely yes. So the minor areas will be around 15 to 20 marks in the section B. And the minor areas will be at least 20 marks out of the 30 marks in section A. So just imagine you were not that good in minor areas. So it means on the final day, you were not that good with respect to 40% of your paper. So how can you expect a comfortable pass? I really don't think so. So we are not going to make this mistake as well. Last, but surely not the least, I believe this is the seventh and the most important point. This is the knockout punch. This is the most critical thing. If a student has got good enough typing speed and that student had fair share of exam practice, that student scored reasonable marks and that student practiced the section A questions throughout the session, that student worked on the knowledge base, that student had a fair technique with respect to major areas, that student did not ignore the minor areas during the preparation. So seems like a very reasonable, fair, I would say an ideal student. Still there is a possibility, and I am saying it with, unfortunately, there is a possibility that student might not pass. Still, there is a huge possibility of failure. And the reason is, in order to pass this paper, with a comfort zone, just like walk in the park, you got to make sure that your mock exam should be marked by an expert tutor. And at least 10 days before the exam, 8 days, 10 days, 12 days before the exam, I will make sure that I am going to mark the mock exam of each and every student, and I'm going to share a customized, tailor-made feedback to each and every student. And that will ensure if you would have ended at 40, you might end up at 55. If you were to end up at 52, you will jump to 65 or 70 somewhere. So these 7 reasons and these 7 things we need to cover. These 7 things will ensure that we are going to pass this particular paper. Let me quickly recap few things. In order to overcome your typing speed, I would recommend a website called typing.com. You need to make a make an account over there, just like you make an account on Instagram, free sign up, and practice at least 1 hour daily on typing.com. It will take a month or so, and typing speed will be an asset for you. It will do wonders for you, not only throughout your rest of the ACCA, but for the rest of the life. Lack of exam practice, always try to solve exam questions with a strict time pressure. Make sure you're solving questions with the question should be solved via in a time-bounded environment. What about poor score in section A? How can we overcome this one? We need to solve OTQs from both the Kaplan and the BPP kit. What about scoring nothing or below average in knowledge based? As far as knowledge base is concerned, you got to make a Word file in your laptop, and you got to add knowledge based things. You got to add something daily. Add something daily in your knowledge base file. If I'm going to teach you chapter number 1 today, you got to make sure that you realize what knowledge base is there in the chapter number 1. And once you have realized that these 2-3 things are there as a knowledge base, you got to make sure that you are extracting that knowledge base and you are typing it, not copying it, typing it, same to same, not in your own words, and you are making or developing your own Word file. Don't ask for a ready-made knowledge base Word file from me or from any other person. Create your own file over the period of time. Number 5th, exam technique issues in the major areas. Don't worry about it because that will be resolved. Ignoring minor areas during the preparation. No, we are not going to ignore. We are definitely not going to ignore. In fact, I will start my syllabus from the minor areas. Finally, my plan. How I am going to proceed with this particular course. I will start from ethics, then I will cover corporate governance, and then we will cover internal audit. So basically, we are going to start with these 3 minor areas. Once we are done with these 3 minor areas, we are not going to ignore them at all, and we are going to solve questions relevant to these 3 topics. So that is going to be the step number 2. Now, step number 3, 4 and 5, they have got to do with the major areas. So we are going to start risk and then the questions relevant to the risk. Then we are going to start controls and we are going to solve the questions relevant to controls. Then we are going to hit upon the substantive procedures and we will solve the questions relevant to the substantive procedures. Step number 6, we will be left with one minor topic only. So we are going to start review and reporting once we are done with those 3 major areas, and we are going to solve the questions relevant to the review and reporting. Finally, once we are done with all the syllabus, once we have covered each and everything, it's time for the step number 7, the lucky number 7, and hopefully this lucky number 7 will ensure one thing, and that one thing is the real agenda, and that is to successfully make sure that this particular paper is not a big deal for any one of us. So we are going to make sure that we will have an absolute mock exam, a full-fledged activity, a very important part of this session. So we are going to have a mock exam, and that mock exam will lead to success. So this is my plan, students. I really hope so. You found this orientation session very, very important and very, very inspiring. And I really hope so that you are motivated and you are looking forward to be aggressive, to be motivated, and I'll see you soon with the chapter number 1. Thank you very much and stay positive.